House will come to order. Today's Pledge of Allegiance is by Matthew Saavedra from UCD, and he's from Denver, Colorado.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Representatives Arndt. Arndt. Becker J. Becker K. Beckman. Benavides. Bridges. Buck. Buckner. Carver. Catlin. Coleman. Covarrubias. Danielson. Escar. Everett. Everett.
Excused.
Exum. Foot. Foot.
Excused.
Representative Everett is present. Garnett. Janal. Gray. Hamner. Hamner. There she is. Representative Hamner is present. Hanson. Herod. Hooten. Humphrey. Humphrey. Representative Foote is present.
I lost that paper.
Excused.
Now, Humphrey's here somewhere.
Jackson excused. Kennedy. Kraft Tharp.
I thought you meant move it.
Landgraf.
Not move it here, move it on the
Can I make
calendar.
Lawrence.
Can you make the motion?
Lebsock. Lee. Leonard. Lewis. Lewis.
Excused.
Liston. Lontine. Lundeen. Lundeen.
Excused.
McKean. Here. McLaughlin. Melton. Michelson Janae. Neville. Pabon. Pedersen. Rankin. Ransom. Ryer. Roberts. Rosenthal. Rosenthal.
Excused.
Representative Lundeen is present. Sane. Salazar. Sandridge. Sias. Singer. Thurlow. Valdez. Van Winkle. Weissman. Willett. Williams. Wilson. Winter. Wist. Young. Representative Lewis is present. Madam Speaker.
Present.
It's every other Friday. Her and Jackson rotate Fridays. Okay, so I have Humphrey, Jackson, Rosen. Humphrey, Jackson, Rosen.
With 62 present and 3 excused, we do have a quorum. Representative McKean, good morning.
Well, good morning, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday. It's Friday. The temperatures are dropping. There was a little bit of ice on the car this morning. What an absolute delight to have winter back in our lives. Madam Speaker, I move that the reading of the Journal of Thursday, February 8th, 2018 be dispensed with. And why don't we go ahead and approve it as corrected by the Chief Clerk?
All right, members, you have heard the motion.
Not the City Clerk, the Clerk of the House of Representatives. I said it for 7 years.
Thank you for that clarifications. Everybody in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying no. That motion passes. Announcements and introductions. Announcements, introductions. Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With that beautiful weather outside, let's get out and enjoy the snow as we can continue with the Winter Olympics and enjoy. Let's build a snowman. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Representative Valdez. Further announcements or introductions, Representative McKean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Folks, I have a red box up here on the podium. It takes these things called Valentine's Day cards. I drive them, I curry them to the city of Loveland, and they get stamped by little old ladies. Representative Buck is showing you how we do this. You put them in the box. I take the box away. Today is the last day the box will be here. So if you would like, I'm sorry, Representative Garnett, this is the last day. So come, give me your Valentines today, and when I leave, I will take them north. Thank you very much.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Hamner. And Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative McLaughlin and I are here to welcome Western State Colorado University, woohoo, go Mountaineers, to the Capitol this morning.
Great school in Gunnison. You should all go visit. Send your kids there. It's a good place.
Thank you.
It is.
Good to know.
Great wrestling camp. So, yay.
Announcements or introductions? Representative Hamner for another follow-up announcement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm looking for Representative Buckner. Members of the Capitol Choir, would you come on down to the well? We have a birthday tomorrow. Representative Buckner, I don't see where she is. Somebody needs to help me find her so we can serenade her with a very happy birthday wish. Members of the Capitol Choir, would you please come on down? I'm not going to do a solo today. Come on down.
Well, I'll be here for
All
you.
right.
I got your back
I know
in
you
all
guys are
things.
here for me. Has someone found Representative Buckner?
I think she was out in the hallway.
Okay, because we are still calling down members of the Capitol Choir, and we'll have time to rehearse as we're looking for our fabulous Representative Buckner.
I think she's hard at work on trying to find a solution on a very important bill.
And there she is. And you know, Representative Buckner, while we were waiting for you to walk majestically down the center aisle, I have been able to convene almost the entire Capitol Choir, including a couple new members. So, members, are we ready? Choir, are we ready? Da-da-da-da-da. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Representative Buckner. Happy birthday to you. Thank you. Good job.
Happy birthday, Representative Buckner. Further announcements or introductions? Further announcements or introductions? Seeing none, that takes us to third reading of bills. Final passage. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1071.
House Bill 1071 by Representative Salazar, House Senator Moreno, concerning the regulation of oil and gas operations in a manner consistent with the protection of public safety.
Oh, Representative Salazar.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I move House Bill 1071 for third reading
And final passage.
and final passage. How many times do I do this?
All right. Well, it's not every day that Representative Salazar makes that motion. That is a valid motion. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 34 yes votes, 30 no votes, and 1 excuse, House Bill 1071 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1139.
House Bill 1139 by Representative Hooten, all Senators Zenzinger, concerning the removal of outdoor statutory references and repeal of reporting requirements that were previously imposed on the Parks and Wildlife Commission with regard to its rulemaking authority to set fees.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1139 on third reading and final passage.
Question before us is a passage of House Bill 1139 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 63 yes votes, 1 no vote, and 1 excuse, House Bill 1139 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1052.
House Bill 1052 by Representative Lundin and Bridges, all Senator talking concerning local education providers seated concurrent enrollment courses from two-year institution of higher education outside the institution approved science service area when the institution approved to serve the local education provider declines to provide concurrent enrollment courses.
Woo!
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1052 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1052 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 64 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 1 excuse, House Bill 1052 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1141.
House Bill 1141 by Representative Hooten, all Senators Zenzinger, concerning the removal of outdoor references statute to early childhood care and education councils.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1141 on third reading and final passage.
Pleasure before us is the passage of House Bill 1141 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 63 yes votes and 1 no vote, 1 excuse, House Bill 1141 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1141.
House Bill 1144 by Representative Thurlow, all Senator Tate, concerning certain publishing requirements for the Department of Revenue's disclosure of average taxes paid table.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1144 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1144 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 64 yes votes, 0 no votes, 1 excuse, House Bill 1144 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 88.
Senate Bill 88 by Senator Gardner, House Representative Becker Kay, concerning clarification that retail marijuana sales are subject to sales taxes levied by certain limited purpose governmental entities.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 88 on third reading and final passage.
Question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 88 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 40 yes votes, 24 no votes, 1 excused, Senate Bill 88 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. That takes us to general orders, second reading of bills, and Representative Melton. All right, members, you have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Melton will take the chair.
Assuming we're going to get started. The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there's a request for reading the bill at length. Committee amendments will not be read unless requested, as they are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and will be on your iPads and not read unless requested. Bills will be laid over upon motion by the majority leader, and the cult rule is relaxed. relaxed. All right, Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1045.
House Bill 1045 by Representative Singer, I'll Senator Tate, concerning the application of silver diamine fluoride to dental patients.
Madam Majority Leader.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1045 till Monday, February 12th.
House Bill 1045 will be laid over at the request of the Majority Leader. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1142.
House Bill 1142 by Representatives Hooten and Thurlow, all Senators Martinez, Dominic, and Senzinger, concerning modernizing language and statutory sections that refer to paupers.
Representative Thurlow?
There was an amendment, right?
Or Representative Thurlow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members. I move House Bill 1142 and the committee report.
To the Public Health and Human Services Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The committee report merely adds the bill number to the bill description. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is passage of the committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. To the bill. Representative Hooten.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Thurlow. House Bill 1142 is a statutory revision committee bill, and as everyone here knows, this committee is just charged with looking into statutes for the purpose of discovering anachronisms and eliminating antiquated language. And in this particular case, we are replacing the reference of pauper with indigent. And with that, I move House Bill 1142.
It's already moved. Just ask for
Okay, so I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1142? Seeing none, the question before us is passage of House Bill 1142. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes barely have it. House Bill 1142 is adopted. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1033.
House Bill 1033 by Representative Weissman, also Senator Quorum, concerning the time in which employees are entitled to take leave to participate in elections.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move 1033 and the SVMA committee report.
To the State Affairs Committee report.
The committee report makes a few clarifying amendments concerning when the leave may be taken and to address issues of municipal election administrators. I brought these amendments on behalf of those concerns. I ask for your support.
Is there any further discussion on the State Affairs Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the State Affairs Committee report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes also barely have it. The committee report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 1033 updates our existing time off to vote statute to better comport with how we do elections in Colorado. The intent here is to make it easier for voters, election administrators, and the business community. The Denver Chamber supports. The Aurora Chamber Government Affairs Committee supports. KCNC 3 are neutral. I ask for your support.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill? Representative Leonard, excuse me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In committee, we got to hear this bill a little bit. We got to hear some testimony. This is expanding the hours that employers would be required to be able to have their employees engage in some voting activity, not just voting, but other things, which isn't a bad thing to do that, but obviously it's mandating on employers what to do. But the testimony that we heard was how far we have come in our day of mail-in ballots and how little time is actually needed to vote. We also heard testimony about how flexible business hours are today than they ever have been in the future, and how little this would impact our ability to increase voter turnout. Voter turnout has gone down even though we have perpetually made it easier and easier for people to vote. So the impact of this bill on voting would be extremely negligible, but the impact on another mandate to employers to be able to accommodate this quest for more voter turnout is significant. So I would urge a no vote on this because it is a mandate on employers who are already very agreeable to giving the very little time it takes nowadays to be able to vote. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on Representative Salazar?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a pleasure to serve with you.
And a pleasure to serve with you.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1033? Representative Humphrey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think that Representative Leonard was quite comprehensive in his remarks. And I think that this is not necessary. Most employers are going ahead and doing this anyway. And so I would also urge a no vote on this bill. Thank you.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I would also urge a no vote on this bill. In committee, we heard, good reasons on both sides, but I think at the end of the day, and I won't echo the arguments that my colleagues have already made, but I do want to point out one thing, that this didn't come down to a party line vote. There was opposition from the majority side, and I would also point that out and let people consider that as they consider the merits of this bill. So thank you.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If memory serves, there was not a single opposition witness to this bill in committee. The Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce supports this legislation because their members value the ability of their employees to participate in our democratic processes. I support the bill for similar reasons, and I ask that you do the same.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill? Representative Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just in response to knowing, and I know we get a lot of testimony in committees, but there's a lot of people who are not there. And mostly those people who are not there that can't testify is because they have jobs and they're working. And this is a specific bill that would mandate on employers to be able to spend additional resources by obviously losing their labor market. They're not there testifying because they have jobs and they're working. So it's good to get testimony from a lot of different people, but obviously us as representatives are voices for them that can't be there. So again, I would urge a no vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1033? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1033. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no? No. The ayes have it. House Bill 1033 is adopted. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1086.
House Bill 1086.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the House stand in a brief recess.
The House will be in a brief recess. Committee will come back to order. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1086.
House Bill 1086 by Representatives Buckner and Lundin, House Senators Neville and Aguilar, concerning allowing community colleges to offer a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing.
Madam Majority Leader.
Just 1 minute, Mr. Chair. They're coming now. Where's my co-sponsor?
Representative
everyone.
Buckner or Representative Lundin?
Mr. Chair, can I have 10 seconds to catch my breath?
Yes, you may. We will recognize a 10-minute catching of breath for Representative
No,
Buckner.
10 seconds.
10 seconds, excuse me, seconds. Representative Lundin.
Are you ready
Yes.
to go?
I just need a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Representative
Yes.
Buckner.
I am so excited and pleased.
Move the bill and- and the
I've got to
committee.
move the. I move House Bill 1086 and the committee report.
To the HIE Committee report.
Thank you. I am proud to be a co-sponsor for this very important bill. As you all know, I'm Vice Chair of Education, and we have been addressing teacher shortages. This bill piqued my interest because there is a real nursing shortage as well, but let me make this clear. There's a teaching shortage because less students are entering that field, and the nursing shortage is a different story. You all know my late husband was an educator for 33 years, and he had the only STEM school in Cherry Creek Schools, so he had thousands of students because of the STEM school went into the field of nursing and healthcare. Talking to a lot of these students, parents, and people in the community, many students, even if they were qualified, were not being admitted into schools. And I found out through my research that minority students and low-income students are being underserved in the field of nursing because of some of these barriers.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Representative Buckner, but if we can speak to the report, I think we'll get
Yes.
to your comments to the bill.
Yes. So I'm going to let Representative Lundin continue.
Representative Lundin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I offer an amendment to the committee report. It is L008. I move it, ask that it be properly displayed, and am prepared to discuss.
Thank you, Representative Lundin. That motion is proper and it is properly displayed. To the amendment.
So members, you have all been participating in one form or another in a conversation around this bill, and Representative Buckner was doing a great job of explaining why this is so important. This particular amendment to the committee report is the result of interactions between the four-years, the communities, all the various individuals interested in this. What it's perceived to be is most of the answer to an agreement that solves the challenges that the various entities were struggling with. This would give the ability for a student who is either in an associate's program or has completed an associate's program to continue on to get the Bachelor of Science in Nursing, which is coveted, which is desired and needed by the healthcare providers. There's one more element that we're still working out the final language on. The conversations are positive, which will involve some notifications between the institutions, the ability to notify back and forth. You can hiss at us now, but you will see that as an amendment on third reading tomorrow should this bill advance. I urge your support of L008 as a meaningful compromise that advances the cause of getting more nurses into the state of Colorado and distributing educational opportunities to nursing students.
Thank you, Representative Lundin. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L008. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. L008 is adopted to the committee report. To the committee report. Seeing no further discussion on the committee report, the question before us is the adoption of the HIE committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. To the bill. please.
Thank you so much.
Representative Buckner.
I'm going to continue my story because we're to the bill.
Yes.
I found out through my research that many students, especially low-income students, were being left out of programs because they wanted to go into the field of nursing. The reason I love this bill so much is because it creates access, accessibility, and affordability. So many students going into the field of nursing know that you have to have the grades. I am not about mediocrity, especially in the field of medicine. If a student has the grades, they have everything they need to be accepted into a 4-year program or a BSN program. I feel that there should be more accessibility, flexibility, etc. At the community college level, students will save approximately $137 per credit hour. That's a lot of money when you add up how many hours it takes to go through a nursing program. So that's one of the main reasons I am in strong support of this bill, because the quality will be there, and students will be able to complete their degree. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Lundin.
I think the most appropriate response to that is to say amen. What this does is this gives us a meaningful ability to get at the fact that we here in Colorado are going to be 5,000 BSN nurses short by 2024, and we need to do something about that. This gives us a pathway to get relief. What it also does is it gives students alternative pathways up the mountain of professional development and academic achievement. This is a great bill because it's going to help Colorado immediate in this context being within a year or two, but more importantly, it's going to help us have more nurses as our population continues to get wiser, not older, but wiser, and we have greater need for the services these individuals provide. I urge your support of the bill. We are prepared to take any questions, should there be any.
Representative Salazar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. This is a really super important bill, and I rise in support of House Bill 1086. Really super important since we have such a shortage in nursing. And I'll tell you that it's a great honor when we have constituents come down to support a bill like Ronald Mountain, the chair's father. Everybody, let's welcome him to the chamber. But I rise in support of this bill, even with the amendment. I know that the bill sponsors have negotiated furiously to get this bill to this point. But, you know, as Coloradans, we know that there is a shortage of nurses in this state. And what this bill is attempting to do, and is going about it the right way, is opening up the doors to those who want to do that honorable profession of nursing. I really thank the bill sponsors for this, for thinking outside the box. This is a fabulous bill, and my mom's been a nurse for 44 years. And so, so I know that she likes this bill too, so thank you very much.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, I rise in support of this bill, and I want to share a little bit about some of the testimony that we heard and some of the conclusions that I drew from that. First of all, let me say that for many of you in the chamber, you're not too concerned about doctors and nurses, but when you get to be my age, you'll get a little more concerned about that. So talk about this as being a preventive maintenance thing for you all, okay? First of all, Representative Buckner talked about the cost per credit hour. One of the major universities said that theirs was $530 per credit hour. The community college that serves my district is less than $70. Do the math. Do the math. Second thing we heard was from the colleges and universities, we already have the capacity. Our capacity already exists. One testified they have like space for 200 and some candidates. We only have 70. My thought was, how's come that is? Why aren't they there? We have a shortage. Why aren't they there? Might have something to do with economics. I think it also has to do with location. Most of the nursing candidates in my part of the state of Colorado will not come across the Great Divide and come to the major colleges and universities to get that degree. Why? Because they've already started in with a nursing certificate and they can't leave that job to go get the 4-year degree. The accessibility is critical. The third conversation that took place. Well, can they really do it? Will they be able to do it? Folks, simple math, simple project, simple process. If they can't do it, they'll fail. If they can do it, they will succeed. So the bottom line is, if the community college is starting that program and they fail, those nurses will need the degrees, so then they'll flood to the 4 years that are still around. That's just the process. Fourth issue, competition. Competition. I don't know about you, but the nurses candidates in my part of the state will not go to an inferior program. They do not have a sense of pride saying, I got my degree and it's inferior. As I put in an article after that particular committee meeting, I said, this whole debate sounds to me like the thing from Annie, Get Your Gun. Anything you can do, I can do better. Well, let's let them do it. Let's let them do it. Final point, point number 5. Doesn't matter where you get your training in the state of Colorado, every nurse takes the same exam. Period. Good bill, vote yes.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1086? Representative Thurlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Wilson. You left your notes here, though, and I don't want to get started on using your notes. Oh, those are Lundine's, excuse me. I don't necessarily rise to oppose the bill. And I know it's in the process of being amended and worked on, but I would just ask the members to think a little bit about the big picture of education in Colorado. We have a system, whether it's good or bad, I don't know. We've got 4-year colleges, and there's quite a few of them, and there are nursing degrees being 4-year degrees being produced. And then we have 2-year colleges, and they serve a role and a function. What this bill contemplates is expanding that role and function to a certain extent at the 2-year colleges into 4-year degrees. What I ask you is, do you think we support our higher education in Colorado now with enough funding? If you do, then fine, we might as well keep expanding the 2-year colleges. If you don't think we support it now with enough funding, will we be able to support it as many of those 2-year colleges start expanding their role, which is, no matter how good it is, it's going to increase overhead for professors and for equipment and different things. So we're going to expand the role of the 2-year colleges, and sometime down the road, and here's what I think we should think about. You know, we just did supplementals the other day, and we had arguments about the budget, but we can't really change the budget through that process. What I think we have to look at in the big picture is we have to change the budget through the policy decisions that we make. So if we don't make them as policy decisions, if we just allow one item to creep into the deal, so now a 2-year college can become a 4-year college over time, will we be able to support that financially? And I'm talking 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. Is this a good policy decision for Colorado and for higher education in the state? Thank you.
Representative Lundin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for the questions and comments. I appreciate them. This bill is unique in that, to this budget question, to this money question, it further optimizes money we're already investing, state dollars that are going into these programs at the communities. Right now, the most challenging part of the program, in my opinion, is the first couple of years. It's the practicums, it's the laboratory work. It's more challenging for the student, and it's more challenging for us in terms of expense. That's where the laboratory work is done. There's more capital expenditure required to do that. That's happening currently in the communities. What this does is it makes those dollars more efficiently spent by allowing students to continue on with the academic elements, year 3 and year 4, that in fact complete that BSN that is so coveted by the healthcare field. So I would argue this bill in fact speaks directly to and is beneficial to the issues and concerns raised by the representative.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Thurlow mentioned the term, actually, it's left my head, big picture, big picture. And I think the big picture that you need to be considering here is a shortage of nurses. How do we train those nurses? If the four-year colleges had been training as many nurses as we needed, we wouldn't be standing up here. And I'm not criticizing them. There's been, for whatever reason, we have a nursing shortage. We have a shortage of professional people in the medical field across the board. So we have an opportunity here to make that up. And I can tell you, as far as the four-year, two-year schools and that argument, my daughter is a PA and she got her degree at Red Rocks Community College. She has her master's. It's a medical program. It's not a two-year program. Well, it actually is, but it's the same as any other PA degree. And not once has anybody said, where did you get your degree? What they said is, what is your background? We'll hire you. And that's exactly what's going to happen to these nurses when they come out of our community colleges, because I know what a good job Pikes Peak does, and I assume that the community colleges in every one of our districts who will undertake this will do just as good of a job. This is an important bill. In fact, I would say it's possibly one of the most important bills we're going to see this year. I am so grateful for you for running this, and you for running this, the two of you. I would ask everybody to be a yes vote. This should be unanimous.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 86, Representative Ransom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We spent several hours listening to both sides in committee last week on this bill, and unlike some of my colleagues that you've been hearing talk about the nursing shortage, I actually did not let that element enter into my decision making, because unlike some of you, I remember back maybe around the late 70s, early 80s, when we had basically a glut of nurses, at least where I lived. Nursing students it was highly competitive to get into the universities that taught nursing, and they would get snapped up with jobs right when they were right when they graduated. But the point is that we have ebbs and flows of supply and demand, and I think it would be a mistake to just pass policy based on a short-term need that we might be having now. That being said, I urge support of this bill, and I did vote yes in committee, because in the long run, I still think that allowing a competition is a good thing for the educational process, and B, the quality of the education is really what I was checking. During committee, I spent hours listening to everybody that came in to talk on this bill, and I was very concerned that we would not have, if we didn't have the same quality of nurses, no matter what school they went to, then I wouldn't have been in support. But we were actually assured on different fronts, not just by passing the board exams. They take the same board exams, but they get so much of the same quality education during the nursing program. Some of you might remember reading some of the old books, Cherry Ames Student Nurse. I don't know if any of you remember those. Back in those days, they only went to 3 years of training in a hospital, and then they would be a nurse, and they didn't even have to have any type of college degree at all, because they could learn enough from observing and helping and working in the hospitals. They could get the practical experience needed to become a nurse. And I'm not suggesting we go back there. I'm just trying to, again, look at the big picture and recognize that what our goal is to have well-trained, well-educated nurses that have the good background that they can do the wide realm of duties that nurses have to do. Now, to do the advanced things, the people that want to go on and do the nurse anesthetist jobs, or do some of the higher skilled jobs or work on their master's or their doctorate or higher more specialized things, they might prefer to have that university degree and then move forward. But to go be a nurse in a hospital, which is what we need, we do need desperately now, in the short term as well as the long term, I think this is a good, solid bill. So we're not lowering standards. That was one of my big questions. I wanted to make sure we didn't lower standards with getting this degree. And remember, getting the degree doesn't necessarily mean getting hired. You still need to be excellent at what you do. You need to have good grades. You need to have been got your practicum work in good, solid areas. So you need to not just have a piece of paper that says you have a degree. You also need to have enough background and skills that you can be hired and get the right job that you want. Again, as we have an ebb and flow of supply over the next several decades, I think this will be a good bill to make sure that we have nurses that love what they do, that want to help meet the demand of the supply when we have issues with demand, that we will then have good nurses to work with. I urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Representative Janal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in strong support of House Bill 1086. And I just want to share with you a letter I received in support for BSN in community colleges. It comes from the president of Front Range Community College. And what he says is, the bill would help more community college students get a BSN, continue the strong quality at community college programs. Larimer campus graduates had a 100% pass rate on the national boards last spring, better than most universities, and meet the need for the growing BSN degrees. For the last couple of years, all of the students in Front Range Community College's nursing program in Fort Collins have been forced to co-enroll in a BSN program, and that's because hospitals won't provide the clinical spots for them if they are not co-enrolled. Workforce development is what community colleges are all about, and this is a bill that will help our nursing shortage now and in the future. I rise in strong support for this bill. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1086? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1086. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1086 is passed. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we rise and report.
Committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Randall, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your Committee of the Whole Big Lead report has under series following touch bills, being the second reading that makes the following recommendations on House Bill 1033 is amended, House Bill 1086 is amended, House Bill 1142 is amended, passed the second reading, goes to place calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1045 laid over until February 12, 2018, retaining its place on the calendar.
Representative Melton. right, members, you have heard the motion, and there is an amendment at the desk. We have one amendment, the Leonard amendment. Representative Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would move the Leonard Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole. I move the Leonard Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Randall, do you want to read the Leonard amendment?
Representative Leonard moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in adopting House Bill 1033 to show that House Bill 1033, as amended, lost.
The Leonard amendment has been properly moved. Representative Leonard.
Great. Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is an amendment to reverse the action taken by the committee on the House bill that we heard 1033. This had to do with elections. We heard some debate about do we need to extend and have additional mandates on employers for elections, even though we have mail-in ballots and we have an enormous effort that has already been made to date on this. But when we had the voice vote on this, it seemed to me anyway very, very close and very tough to be able to figure out the yeas and nays on this. So that's why I would urge a yes vote on this amendment.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'm going to ask for a no vote on the amendment for the same reason that I believe strongly enough in voting to have made this my pre-file bill for 2018. For a little bit of context, we've had a law in the books for about 25 years that allows an individual to take 2 hours off on Election Day for the purpose of voting. This law has not been particularly controversial, as far as I can tell, in 25 years. The purpose of this bill is to update that law with respect to how we do elections in Colorado and make a good law just a little bit better. Provisions are still limited to 2 hours, prior notice still required in advance to the employer, and there's still an exception that if you already have at least 3 consecutive hours off on the day in question, leave does not apply that day. Sometimes the problem people have is not on Election Day anymore. It may be earlier, the ballot was sent to the wrong place, you have just moved to Colorado, you need to get your license updated so that you can participate in our elections process. I have gone to great pains to minimize the friction with the business community on this bill. I have run an amendment in committee to that effect. I am gratified to have the support of the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce, of the Aurora Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee, and the neutral position of the State Chamber of Commerce and C3. I'm also grateful for the support of my county clerk in Arapahoe because I think in addition to this bill making it easier for people to exercise their right to vote, it makes it easier on election administrators who don't have to deal with quite as many last-minute situations backing up on Election Day, and frankly easier for employers because, again, the existing law allows 2 hours of leave, and if I'm an employer, I would rather have people taking that leave on a rolling basis on a number of days before election and not having it all stack up on the last day. Ultimately, and at the philosophical level, I think we all know we are in a time when a great many people in our society question whether their participation in our politics matters anymore. The point of this bill is both, in fact, to make it easier to participate and to send a message that we value participation. If you do, if you believe in the fundamental right of voting, please vote no on the cow.
All right, we are voting on the Leonard amendment. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Members, you are voting on the Leonard amendment. Representative Buckner. Please close the machine. With 27 yes votes, 36 no votes, and 2 excused, the Leonard amendment fails. That brings us to the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote on the report of the Committee of the Whole. Representative Beckman, Representative Hooton, and Representative Reyer. Please close the machine. With 61 yes votes, 2 no votes, 2 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. All right, announcements and introductions. That takes us actually not to announcements and introductions, but to consideration and memorials. Mr. Randall, read the title of SJM 004, please.
Senate Joint Memorial 4 by Senator Garcia, also Representative Escar, memorializing former Congressman Ray Kagosic.
Representative Escar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move Senate Joint Memorial 004 and ask that it be read at length.
Hold on one second. Members, we're doing a memorial. Mr. Randall, please read SJM 004 at length.
Whereas, our respected former colleague, Raymond Kagosic, a past member of the Colorado General Assembly and the United States House of Representatives, departed this life on April 30th, 2017, at the age of 75. And whereas Congressman Kagosic was born in Pueblo, Colorado on August 19th, 1941, one of 6 children and the son of a steelworker. And whereas he was passionate about his Slovenian heritage and held great love for his Yugoslavian grandmother, who ran a tavern on Pueblo's Slovenian south side. And whereas he was named Colorado's honorary consul to Yugoslavia, and at his death was the honorary consul emeritus for Slovenia in the Colorado Consular Corps. And whereas after graduating from Pueblo Catholic High School in 1959, Congressman Kagosic went on to attend Pueblo Junior College and Adams State College, graduating in 1964 with a degree in business administration. And whereas Congressman Kagosic discovered his lifelong calling as a public servant after joining the staff of the Pueblo County Clerk and Recorder's Office in 1964. And whereas he became the Chief Deputy County Clerk in 1968, the same year he won a bid for the Colorado House of Representatives at the age of 27. And whereas he was elected to the Colorado Senate in 1970, serving as Senate Majority Leader in 1973. And whereas in 1978, he was elected to the United States House of Representatives for the 3rd Congressional District, a position he held for 3 terms, winning twice against the same opponent and a third after redistricting. And whereas in the past 40 years, Congressman Kagosic was Pueblo's only congressperson. And whereas during his time in Washington, he served on the House Committee on Interior and Insular Affairs, now the Natural Resources Committee, where he championed national resource legislation such as the Colorado National Forest Wilderness Act of 1980, which established many iconic wilderness areas in Colorado, including Cache La Poudre, Lost Creek, and Collegiate Peaks wilderness areas. And whereas he also worked on Western water issues and on boundary disputes for the Mountain Ute tribe as part of his Interior and Insular Affairs Committee work. And whereas the funding he helped secure to widen I-70 through Glenwood Canyon, an outcome of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee on which he also served, is a lasting legacy. And whereas, as a United States representative, he was appointed to the United States-Mexico Interparliamentary Commission and participated in numerous congressional caucuses to advance Colorado's tourism, steel industry, agriculture, and more. And whereas during his time in both the Colorado General Assembly and United States Congress, he was known for his ability to work across party lines to find consensus on difficult issues for the benefit of Coloradans and all Americans. And whereas after deciding not to seek re-election, he returned to Pueblo to form the consulting firm Kogosic and Associates Incorporated with key staff member Christine Arbogast. And whereas his company focused on responsible water resource management and development, transportation, Native American issues, appropriation of federal funds for a wide range of programs and capital projects, and the use of our protection and the use and protection of our public lands. And whereas Congressman Kogosic was awarded the Wayne Aspinall Water Leader of the Year Award in 2003 by the Colorado Water Congress, the Citizen of the Year Award in 2014 by the Pueblo Chamber of Commerce, and was inducted into the Pueblo Hall of Fame in 2009. And whereas, through all of these accomplishments, Congressman Kogosic remained a caring and generous husband to his wife Linda, a devoted and loving father to his daughters Lisa Marie Kogosic and Tony Ray Andres, proud grandfather to his grandson Reese Raymond Andres, and beloved figure to his many friends and family members. And whereas upon hearing of his passing, Congressman Kogosic's colleagues remembered him with warm words of praise, such as from former United States Senator Gary Hart, who said, "I told Ray not long ago that he would never know how important he had been to Southern Colorado, to the people of the 3rd Congressional District, to all the young people he had mentored over the years." And whereas former Colorado Governor Richard Lamb, who served with Congressman Kogosic in the Colorado General Assembly, said he was the role model of a good legislator. If we had lawmakers like Ray on both sides of the aisle today, there isn't anything our state couldn't accomplish. And whereas United States Representative Scott Tipton, who represents the 3rd Congressional District today, remarked in a tribute delivered on the House floor shortly before Congressman Kogosic's death, "He is a man of gentle wisdom, wisdom about people, a man with a gut instinct to know what is right, a genuine man, a man who knows no anger." And whereas Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, after ordering flags to be flown at half-staff on all Colorado public lands statewide on May 3, 2017, in honor of this Colorado statesman, remarked, "Ray dedicated his life to supporting the interests of the people of Pueblo and Southern Colorado. His efforts have left an indelible mark across our state and on so many lives that will cherish his legacy of respect and selflessness in serving others. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate of the 71st General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that in the death of Raymond Kogosic, the people of the State of Colorado have lost a devoted public servant and an outstanding citizen, and that we, the members of the 71st General Assembly, pay tribute to Raymond Kogosic for his years of dedicated public service and do hereby extend our deep and heartfelt sympathy to the members of his family."
Representative Esker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, thank you. I know it's Friday afternoon and we've had a long morning. We heard this memorial in the Senate earlier this week, and unfortunately his family couldn't make it then or today, but we decided to go ahead and move forward with it because I truly wanted to take the time to honor somebody who I consider a mentor, and not just politically. He was born in Pueblo, grew up on Pueblo's south side, and served his hometown his entire life. He lived on the same side of town I was born in, I've lived my entire life, and I now have the honor to serve. He started in the House in 1969 at the age of 27, served in the Senate from 71 to 78 before he was elected to the 3rd Congressional District. This was all before I was born. This was all before I even knew Ray. You see, I met Ray through a different lens. His wife, Linda, has been my mom's best friend since I was a teenager. And I think they got married probably in my early 20s, long before I ever had a political aspiration. In my town, there's this group of people of Slovenian descent that call themselves Bojan. And for Bojans, it's a term of endearment. I'm one of them. And being part of this Bojan community myself, that's how I really got to know Ray. You know, his passion for his heritage and his passion for history and making sure people understood what all of that meant and why it was important and teaching younger generations to never forget it was one of the things I admired most about Ray. And I never really worked directly with Ray until one day I got a call from him. He said, "Hey, I've heard you're doing some work in your community, some good work in your community. I'd love to sit down and have coffee and get to know more about it." I wasn't sure what Former Congressman Ray Kogosic wanted to know about my work, but I said, sure, let's go have some coffee. I was a community organizer for a progressive statewide organization, nonprofit. And I was a little nervous, not sure what Ray was going to have to tell me. And we sat down and he said, I've been following you, and I think you're doing amazing work. How can I be helpful? And this was my first fundraising ask ever. So my voice shaking, I said, oh, it's funny you should ask. I'm actually in the middle of trying to raise some money. He just pulled out his checkbook and said, if it's important to you, I believe in you and I trust the work you're doing, and wrote me a check for the organization. That's how Ray was. He wanted to know who was helping his community, and then in turn, how he can support that person to lift them up. Ray was always about bringing people together, moving them together, and moving them up. Same thing happened when I announced that I was running for office. I got a call from him. Meet me in my office. And I thought, oh no, he's going to try to talk me out of this. He had nothing but support. He gave me tips, he gave me ideas, and he said, let me know how I can be helpful. And I didn't ask him for money that time. I asked him for his knowledge. One of the things he told me, he said, no matter what your party is, you must treat people with respect and reach your hand across the aisle. And he said, I know this sounds cliche because you're running in a tough seat as a Democrat, but trust me, when you get there, it will make sense. He has always taught me to be kind and to listen. In fact, I think that's what made him one of the best legislators and congresspeople I've ever met. We would have lunches, we would have breakfast, and in fact, I have breakfast with Linda still when I'm home. And he never came to tell me what to do or how to run my legislation or how to act. He sat back and listened. He listened all the time. And when asked, gave sound advice. So thank you, members, for taking the time this morning to allow me to memorialize one of my mentors and a truly great man. And I know his wife and his family appreciate the sentiment. Thank you.
Assistant Minority Leader West.
I'm down here today speaking proudly in support of this memorial on behalf of the Brezonic and Blagotinchik wings of my family. As many of you know, and I've talked about her often because she's a big part of why I'm here, my grandma Goldie Brezonic was a proud Democrat. She was a very active Democrat. Some days I wonder what she'd think of what her grandson does on a day-to-day basis. But I remember how excited my grandma was when Ray Kogosic announced that he was running to be our congressman, and how proud she was that a member of the Slovenian community was going to represent her in Congress. I had the opportunity to meet Ray Kogosic several times. I was very young, and he was, my lasting memory of Ray Kogosic is what a gentle spirit he was, and what a bipartisan man he was, and how he looked for partners. I think if you're going to be successful as a congressman in the 3rd Congressional District, particularly as a Democrat, in the proud tradition of somebody like Wayne Aspinall, you understand that good solutions to problems come from all corners and from both sides of the aisle. And Ray Kogosic embraced this. He was successful, and he was a good man. Members, it's an honor to stand here. Representative Esgar, thank you for honoring Congressman Kogosic. God bless you, Ray Kogosic.
Further discussion? Question before us is a passage of SJM 004. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying no. SJM 004 is adopted. Representative Escar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Announcements and introductions. Representative Singer. Oh, and Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
All right, Madam Speaker,
Monday, Colorado Children's Caucus. The votes are in. You guys spoke and we listened. We will have 2 amazing presentations and free lunch from 12 to 1:15 p.m. Senate Committee Room 357, including the Colorado Network to End Homelessness, with amazing panelists from Urban Peak, Kendall Rames and Claire Klurman from Attention Homes. We look forward to seeing you 12 o'clock on Monday.
Representative Ransom.
And the second presentation that day will be the Tennyson Center for Children. The topic, which I thought was a great way to phrase it, surely we can do better, smoothing kids' journeys through child welfare, and just to make sure that kids are being prioritized all the way through any journey.
All right. Thank you. Representative Singer.
One more thing, completely unrelated to this. I look forward to seeing all of you, but especially Representatives Thurlow and Pabon at the Joint Technology Committee by 11 a.m.
All right. Representative Ransom.
Thank you. I have another one too, and it looks like my group may have left, but we have Hearts at Home homeschool support group that was here in the gallery, and I met them during our break, but it looks like they may have given up on us and went on a tour. But anyway, if you see anybody out walking around, there's about 15 people in this group, and I'm sure they'd love it if you'd welcome them to the Capitol.
Further announcements and introductions. Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And so, members, also on Monday, and I know you hate to choose between the Children's Caucus and the Aerospace Caucus, but maybe you can just stop by both. So the Aerospace Caucus, again, is going to be meeting on Monday at 11:30 to start the schmoozing, and 11:45 the program starts, and it'll go till 1 o'clock. Remember, it's across the street in the Legislative Office Building in room 603. So live long and prosper, and have a great weekend. Thank you.
All right. Further announcements or introductions. Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, members, this has been an exciting week economically. There is, despite what the financial markets have done this week, which is a good, healthy correction, which is long overdue, there is lots of good news. I want to give a shout out today in today's Good News Economic Report to that great company called CVS. I'm sure many of you have shopped at CVS and have bought your drugs and whatever else, all the good things that CVS sells to the public. Good quality company. Yesterday they announced a 22% increase in their hourly wage rate to all of their employees. They are also they are not going to raise their health insurance premiums for the next year for all of their employees. And last but not least, especially for people on this side of the aisle, which I'm sure you'll appreciate, they are going to start a family leave program that they are going to fully pay for all their employees. So let's give a shout out to today's good economic news to CVS Corporation. Thank you.
Further announcements or introductions. Assistant Majority Leader Gurnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, Maryland sent out an email. You can't park on the west side because they got to move trucks in to fix the roof. I'm losing my voice. Did you guys all hear that? You can't park on the west side. You can't park on the west side.
You guys are just cruel. Do not park on the west side. Poor Assistant Majority Leader Gurnett. We hope you get better soon. Representative Bridges.
Like I say, for those who didn't hear, don't park on the west side.
You got to move your cars. You have to move your cars.
You have to move your cars if you are on the west side.
Over the weekend. Over the weekend.
Over the weekend.
Who parks here over the weekend?
In case you're parking here over the weekend.
Why are you doing that?
Go home. Spend time with your families, guys.
Any further announcements or introductions? Seeing no further announcements or introductions, Assistant Majority Leader Gurnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess until noon today.
All right, seeing no objection, the House, yes, the House will stand in recess.